Okay, just a brief intro about myself. I think a lot of you might not have come across my name. So my name is Saravana Kumar. I'm one of the long-term Microsoft MVPs. Similar to Alan, like I'm coming from more of a BizTalk messaging background. So anybody from BizTalk background here? Wow, only couple of hands. Okay, three. Okay. Maybe, yeah. Um, yeah, I think in the last 10 years, like the MVP state has been constantly switched from BizTalk and connected systems, and then there was a short span as an integration MVP, and now everybody is Azure. Like if you are an MVP, there is only one big category. You're doing something within Azure. And I'm also a founder of a company called BizTalk 360. So given the BizTalk background, like back in 2010, like I identified a lot of gaps in the product that helps enterprises mainly on security, analytics, monitoring, and those kind of things, and build BizTalk 360. And it's one of the successful products now with over 500 enterprise customers across 30 countries. And that's my background from BizTalk. A couple of years ago, like we thought, as we clearly see, like the interest for BizTalk is diminishing, but there are still 10,000 plus customers using BizTalk. So we thought we'll continue with BizTalk 360 as it is, but we wanted to explore and find new opportunities. And that's when we thought, okay, let's take the ideas and things what we have learned from the BizTalk world and use it for this new product called Servicebased 360. It's a complete SaaS-based product which sits on top of Azure. So today I'm not going to talk about the product itself. I may touch base here and there for you to compare. But the whole discussion today is about how did we build such a solution on Azure, on top of Azure? What are the underlying technologies we use to make it happen? And I'm also happy to go through some of our live portal and show like how things are fitting together and how complex it is. And also probably look into, there is a separate portal called Enterprise Portal. Anybody have accessed it? Okay, couple of people. So that's a portal which is not available for normal consumers, but once you have an enterprise agreement with Microsoft, once your solution is big enough and you have a big spending limit, we spend about 100,000 a year with Azure. So if you're hitting that level of spending limit, then you got a specialized portal which gives you much more access into the billing side, and you can separate teams and departments and those kind of things.
What currency was that?
We are in GBP. It's based on where your home country is.
So that's about £1 million a year.
If you want to multiply by 10, that's right. Yeah. No, I think $100,000. So it will be roughly about 70,000 pounds. We are spending 60. I think our bill ranges from 5,000 to 6,000 pounds a month. So that's about million kroners is what we are spending on Azure right now. And again, we haven't scaled it yet. We're just at the beginning, and everything is set up so that we can scale up. Okay, let me go into the details. So today's talk, as I said, is about building such a solution on top of Azure. So what are the challenges we have seen, and what are the decisions we have made? And this is the second time I'm presenting this talk. So the first time I did it in the Igloo Conf back in January, February time. I don't know. I'm hoping like none of you have seen that talk already. There is slight overlap, but I'm under the impression like I can keep giving this talk every 6 months once, because things change every 6 months once, and like we need to redefine ourselves, and a lot of things changes in every 6 months period. So this is always a kind of a fresh. So as I said, we have two different products. One is BizTalk 360, and this is a slight variation called BizTalk 360 Cloud, a mini version of BizTalk 360. And Servicebased 360 is a 100% full-blown SaaS product on top of Servicebased, Azure Servicebased. Okay, let me give you like a quick background about what is a SaaS product. So can anybody define like anybody building an ISV here? Anybody building like a SaaS product? One, okay. Okay, let me give a little bit background. I don't know whether you're shy or you don't know whether what our SaaS product is, but just let me explain what it is. So from the left to right, like you can see, like a lot of us are coming from an enterprise background, and on-premise is it's a pretty clear. So we got everything in-house. We have servers and networking, storage, everything. So pretty much you control the data center, and everything is within your data center. You have sysadmins managing them, and you have a dedicated team for IT ops and things like that. So where you got the headache of managing your entire IT infrastructure. And the next level is IaaS, or infrastructure as a service, and this is how most of the cloud providers started off, providing, you have the ability to host your virtual machines in the cloud. So you can turn it on and off, and you can provision them within few minutes, and it just made the life easy. Like you don't need to worry about storage and networking and little basics around that stuff. So that's where you can see the gap reduces. You don't need to worry about certain things which are in orange, like server, storage, networking, etc. And like even today, like even Microsoft Azure, the number one revenue stream is coming from IaaS. The PaaS and other new stuff are just picking up, but for Microsoft, the revenue is mainly around IaaS. And the next step is a platform as a service. So where you go a little bit higher up than just your virtual machines. Lot of the stuff what Magnus and Alan was showing this morning, like building an app service and building your event hub and Servicebased. All those services are classified as a PaaS service. It is a platform as a service. If you say enterprise messaging, you are not worried about, like the old MSMQ days where you need to provision a server, you need to enable that MSMQ and make sure that server is up and running, MSMQ is up and running. All those problems are gone away. You simply say, I just want Azure Service Bus, queues, topics, etc., which provides you like a messaging capabilities. And you pay, like as Alan was saying, you pay really like literally like $10 a month or something to get that kind of a reliable service. In the past, you just need to provision a server, maybe a license for the servers, OS, and backup, and all those kind of things are all gone away. So that's the platform as service. Lot of the Azure services will fall under that category. And the final is the SaaS product. So what it means is basically you are leasing a software. So there are a lot of SaaS is getting really great momentum. All of the startups what you're seeing today are more or less is a SaaS platform. Like so if you want to give a clean example, the Dynamics 365 is an example where you just want a CRM system and you really don't want to worry about anything. You just say like I want licenses for 10 users for us to use the CRM system. And you just go put your credit card in, and then you are ready to go. And you just lease it as long as you want, and you have the flexibility of canceling it the moment you think it's not relevant. You can come out of it. There is no commitment. It's just a more of an operation cost, not the capital cost, and that's how the whole system is going. And everybody loves it. Both sides of the equation loves this model. Because people like Microsoft, it's a constant revenue model. It's not just a one-off cost. You can keep accumulating users and you get more revenue. And from a consumer point, you just pay for, you can start with very minimal amount of investment and to get a lot of world-class products as and when you want. For example, like in our company, we are about 45 people. We got about 60 different SaaS products we use, and our entire company is running on like in the cloud. We don't have any servers. All our services like marketing tools, the technology tools, and everything is a SaaS product. So that's how the whole industry is going. Okay, let's look at some of the details. What are the key characteristics when you are going to build a product? Let's say you're building a Dynamics 365, or you're building something like a Servicebased 360. So what are the key characteristics you are going to look at? Because it's so different from your mindset, like how you are building things in the past to how you're going to build it now. So the first thing is, it should be scalable, right? So, like today you're providing a platform. If you're lucky enough, and the very first month you got 50 users, and you are like maybe the next Uber of something, and your product kicked off, and you really wanted to scale up to millions of users in the next 3 months or 6 months or 1 year. Is your product scalable? Like the architecture, is it scalable? Can you technically and financially as well? Like in the previous model, like what happens is you lose a lot of money because you need to invest upfront, hoping you might get 2 million users or 5 million users and put some big servers, and you're just waiting for the users to come up. But here you just grow, scale your both your technical as well as the functional things as and when you are accumulating more and more users. The reliability is another big factor, because Microsoft cannot say like Dynamics 365 is down, right? You're literally, that's a commitment you have made, and you just can't afford to say like your platform is down. So from day one, you need to think your reliability from every single angle. So if you're having a website, you need to make sure the website is scalable and website is reliable. It won't go down. And every single options you're choosing behind the scene, you should make sure you are keeping reliability in mind from day one. Smooth onboarding. This is more of a business side of the thing. You just want to, there are no salesperson in between. That's one of the key factor of SaaS-based products. Like nobody talks to a Microsoft rep to sign up for 5 user licenses of Dynamics 365. You just go to the website and you just put your credit card, you put your details, and you sign up. And that should be in your plan from day one as well. So you just need to make sure your onboarding process of users into the system is as seamless as possible, and you need to make sure like everything fits nicely according to that. On each one of the tenants, what we say tenants is a user or a company, should be isolated for, like there shouldn't, it's very easy when you're building a generic platform like that. If there is any loophole, you do not want, the one customer CRM data is being accessible from the other customers users. So you just want to make sure that the security is tight and each user is defined and scoped within a single tenant. And this is, later in the stage, the reason I put this is later in the stage I'll show you like how you can segregate your tenants using some of the technologies available in Azure now. Less time to troubleshoot, because it's very obvious it's a shared platform and you have millions of users, and you really wanted to make sure if there is a problem raised or if there is a downtime for something, you should be able to troubleshoot and fix it. And that's where things like Azure Application Insight and OMS and all those things comes into picture to make sure you take care of that right from day one. Continuous delivery is another model, because you can see Azure is delivering bits every day, right? Like if you leave it a couple of days and you go to the notification, they will say that something is deployed into Azure. In fact, I think they do like 7 or 10 different deployments every day into every data center, and you may not have that level of volume, but from day one, it's good to plan it accordingly, so that you have continuous delivery happening all the time. And the payment is, again, it's a more of a commercial side. As I said, you're not talking to any salespeople. You want the user to come on board, put their credit card in, and then they start using the product. So I think this talk is, I put it like if somebody wants to build a SaaS product, I'm mixing both the commercial side as well as there's the technology side. So that gives you an idea of, if you're going to build something, what are the things you need to look at. So these are some of the main building blocks we have used in the platform to build Servicebased 360. So the Azure App Services are our front-end web apps. The Servicebased 360 is a web application. You just go to servicebased360.com and sign up and log in. So we have, of course, we use App Services as our front end. Azure Event Hubs, we use it in the 360 Cloud product. Alan briefly touched on Event Hubs to inject data into your Azure services. We are using Azure Logic Apps. Anybody have used Azure Logic Apps here? Okay, it's good. So we use Azure Logic Apps. I'll explain the reason behind why we are using Azure Logic Apps, and we use service-based queues. We use worker roles for doing some of the backend work. In fact, like in the previous presentation I did 6 months ago, we didn't have worker roles. We went down the route of Azure Web Jobs, and we hit a bottleneck, and we need to re-architect everything and come to worker role due to the customer-specific deployment challenges and some limits in terms of scalability limits what comes with web jobs. So that's why I thought, like every 6 months once, you need to constantly evolve, and it requires some tuning all the time. SQL Elastic Pool is something bigger. I'm I'm assuming probably not a lot of you have heard about Elastic Pool. Probably you would have used Azure SQL database, but Elastic Pool is a one key ingredient of this SaaS-based development. And of course, storage is there for bits and pieces here and there. We also use Azure Scheduler, which is not in the slide deck. Okay, we also use some of the external services. As I said, this is not purely Azure, but when you look at some of the, like your payment side of the story, a lot of things you can automate these days. You don't need to build everything from scratch. So these are a couple of SaaS-based products we use internally for, for the payment processing and the whole subscription management. And SendGrid, a lot of you might have come across. It's used for email. Sending email, but it's also important to use a service like SendGrid rather than you building your own stuff, because when you're sending mass email to millions of users, your IPs could be blacklisted very quickly. So it's important you use a proper authenticated service like a SendGrid to use it. Plus, behind the scene, we use a lot of marketing tools to like reach out to customers and customer acquisition and all those kind of things. Okay, this is the high-level architecture of a BizTalk 360 cloud product. So the architecture is we have a lot of customers across the world, and we wanted to just deploy a small agent on their on-premise environment, and the agent sends the metadata information straight to the cloud, and from there we have this whole portal, the backend experience of providing a monitoring service for BizTalk. So one of the key things what we have used here is the event hubs. It's same whether whether you're ingesting millions of telemetry data or anything that comes from your on-premise into the cloud. It's easy to use event hubs. It's very easy to provision, and it takes only few not that much effort to get your data into the cloud. And we have a lot of web jobs doing a lot of the core activities. Like we have a dedicated web job. So I'm explaining two products here. So this product is a BizTalk 360 cloud, and we still stick with web jobs here because it's sufficient for us to do with the web jobs. But the Servicebased 360, due to the scale, we had to switch from web jobs to worker roles. So we have a bunch of core web jobs which takes care of activities like ingesting data from event hubs and dumping it into the relevant customer-specific database, and there is a backend payment processing web job, purging web job, and all those web jobs required for running your core activities. And there are also customer-specific web jobs. There may be something required to monitor the customer database and alert based on some violations. So we have lots and lots of web jobs provisioned at the behind the scene for customer scenarios as well. So this is the architecture of Servicebased 360. It's pretty identical because we need to learn from our own stuff. So whatever learning, we initially started with BizTalk 360 Cloud about 3 years ago, and we had a bunch of learning from that exercise, and we adopted majority of the things what worked for us to Servicebased 360, and then we tweaked a little bit things which didn't work for Servicebased 360 at scale. So as you can see, we had to replace the web jobs with worker roles and both the core jobs as well as the customer-specific jobs. And here there is no notion of event hubs because the customers need to come and give their namespaces to start managing. So you just you log into the portal and then you give your name subscription, and we poll the data from your subscription rather than somebody pushing to us. So the architecture is slightly different. So this picture gives you the architecture of the BizTalk 360 cloud, where the agent pushes data to event hubs, and then we have a couple of jobs to take the data and push it to the corresponding customer databases. So I'll just touch base on the reason why we have chosen event hubs for that particular scenario. One of the thing is if you don't have event hubs, what are the options for you, right? So you need to take a data from a customer or a multiple customers and push it to the cloud. So the option for you is, if it's a olden days, you would have built up your web API, you provision 1 or 2 servers that exposing your REST endpoints, and all those the agents are pushing data to that. And it's a big infrastructure challenge, right? Your team might have spent at least a couple of months building that infrastructure. You need to make sure the web APIs are scalable, fault tolerant, and you need to have like on-demand expansion as and when your business is growing. All those problems are gone away just by using event hubs. So you don't need to worry about load balancing, scaling, etc. You just need to provision a event hub, and you have an endpoint, and that endpoint can be given to all the agents, and they can start transmitting data to the cloud. So the agent thing, it's not that relevant. Just for the completion, I'll cover it up. So the agent, what we have built is got the ability for two-way communication. So the agent can send data to the cloud, and we can also push some data back to the agent. So for things like you may wanted to push some configuration information to the agent, you may wanted to change the endpoint of the event hub. This is if people coming from IoT background, so might correlate a lot of things what an agent is doing here. And this is something we built 3 years ago, but now there are solutions in Azure to do this as well. If you look into the IoT space, so there are a lot of things what we are homegrown at that time 3 years ago is not now available as part of your IoT stuff. And these are all the common challenges what we had to overcome. And we probably would have spent like 2-3 months building this agent architecture to make it robust, and we got a two-way communication. The agent should be able to self-heal itself. If there is a problem, it should heal itself and come back online, all those kind of things. But now if you look into the IoT space, there are options to even replace that with a service out of the box. So let's go into a bit more about the storing customer data, which is very critical. Like as I mentioned, the data should be isolated, and like every customer data should be kept in isolation. So what are the options available for you? Because you're building something of a scale, right? Like you are literally thinking right from day one, you're thinking about millions of users. So what are the options available for you? So the traditional route is a single database option. So you have one gigantic database, and there are options like horizontal partitioning, vertical partitioning, etc. So there are well-known concepts in a database, because the SQL databases are pretty mature, right? You can have terabytes of data into those SQL databases, and they still can perform. So there is no problem dumping everything into a single database and adopting techniques like partitioning. But there are cons in the sense somebody need to worry about how you're going to secure it, how you're going to scale it. And the biggest concern for us, if there is a single bug somewhere in our code or the way the developers are doing something, you really don't want to get into a stage where one data is compromised, some customer data is compromised by other customer can access it. So that's the biggest problem we have seen in that single database solution. And the second option is you can provision isolated databases for every single customer. So then you're pretty much safe. So your data is, you don't need to worry about the violation unless otherwise somebody compromises the entire connection string. So otherwise your data is safe because there is everything is segregated. But there are different challenges that comes with the isolated data, right? Cost is one thing. Probably every single customer you're provisioning a database, you need to overcome that, how you're going to do that. And a lot of the SaaS based products, even Servicebased 360, comes with a free model, right? Because everybody wants something free these days. So you need to start with a free thing. So can you afford to have like a single database free for every single customer you are acquiring? So that's something we need to keep in mind. And also things like if you wanted to run an upgrade script, or if you wanted to deploy a store procedure, if it's a single database, it's pretty easy. You can deploy it in one database and you're done, and you can have an upgrade script. But if you have like 1 million databases, right, how are you going to deploy it? How are you going to do that migration, like the script changes and things like that? So those are the things you need to decide on. I think I just talked a step ahead. So these are some of the challenges what we have seen. Cost predictability, unnecessary, the querying something across the database is difficult. Running SQL updates is difficult, and you might end up with a lot of unused databases as well. So that's the problem what the SQL Elastic Pool is solving in Azure. There is a So you have a single database, and there is a service called a SQL Elastic Pool that helps you to put pool of databases together, and you can work as a single entity. So these are some of the core benefits. It's actually designed for SaaS-based applications. So just to overcome the problem I have mentioned, so you have this option to like a provision a SQL Elastic Pool, and you can have like all the databases in a single pool. One of the biggest benefit for us is a single costing model, right? So there is a billing unit called eDTU in SQL Elastic Pool. So even the SQL database is measured in terms of DTU. It's a calculation of the CPU, memory usage, etc. They have like you get 1,000 DTUs. You can for $10 or something like that. So with the Elastic Pool, it's a similar concept, but it's a Elastic DTU. So you say for 1,500 DTUs, you pay like $200 per month, something like that. The biggest advantage is when you have like a pool of customers, one customer may be very small customer, so they might use only like say 500 megabytes of data per month, but you might also have on the other side, you might have a customer with terabytes of data, right? So you can put all of them together, and you might have a pricing model based on your own pricing strategy, but underneath you have only one billing entity to worry about. So there are a few things you need to look at the Elastic Pool. There is a limit on the number of databases you can have on a pool. So this is something we've been bitten very, very quickly. So I think there's a count of 400 databases or something you can have on your single Elastic Pool. So from day one, you need to make sure you can actually have multiple Elastic Pools configured as well, because you will hit the limit pretty quickly. And the other thing you need to take care is the costing side. Most of the cloud-based solutions are basically consumption-based, right? So you consume and then you pay for it. But there are certain services you need to pay attention where there is a base cost. So once you sign up for that service, you start paying for it. So for example, when we started, the base cost of SQL Elastic Pool is $150 per month. That's a starting point. So whether you're using it or not, you will end up paying that $150. So you need to make sure, because that things will multiply very quickly, because you have a dev environment, staging environment, QA and production, and you need to make sure that's how the cost gets multiplied. So you need to make sure like you're picking up the technologies that are relevant, and where it goes purely on the consumption based model. And also keep an eye on pricing changes, because as I said, when we started, the base price was $150. And after a few months, we just noticed there is a price difference, and Azure came with a lower price point of like something called a basic tier, which costs you like $50 per month. But if somebody is not paying attention to it, you may still be paying that $150. So as soon as we saw, we can immediately switch to the basic tier wherever possible, because there are a bunch of environments. Not all the environments require the same level of standard tier. Only production requires that. So you can switch. The lesson here is you keep an eye on the price changes. Don't ignore that the email that comes out of Azure once a month, because that might have certain things which might impact your billing thing. And I think this is more of it's not just an Elastic Pool thing. And also, like, I think somebody asked, or there's a conversation going on, it's very important you have a strategy in place to turn off resources which you're not using all the time. Especially your cost will build up very quickly when you're putting together all your dev, QA, and non-production environments, because in Azure or any cloud, there is no concept of non-production, because people coming from on-premise background, most of the time you pay only for the production licenses, and all the non-production stuff comes free. It may be MSDN subscription, or the free version here and there. But if you look at Azure, everything costs you money, so that you need to keep in mind from day one. So even though I'm talking more of building a SaaS product, it applies to any Azure applications you are building. So you need to keep that in mind, keep the dev, test, staging, all of your environment in mind when you're picking up certain technology stacks in Azure. So this is, be prepared, things will break. Like this is one thing for sure. Like they are deploying stuff every day, and even though they might promise it's backward compatibility here and there, we have seen things falling miserably. Like, and when you're running a platform like a shared platform, it becomes really important, right? Like you can react to things very quickly, and you can't take it for granted your things will not break, because there are a lot of people involved in this. Okay, the Microsoft and their deployment, and it's not your locked down environment where nobody touches it in your on-premise, right? Because you are using a shared platform yourself, and you are building a shared platform on top of a shared platform. So you need to make sure like you're aware of these things. And it's also important, like build some internal processes. This goes back to Magnus talk, be having some policies around, like it's so, it's very quickly, like things will go wrong, and especially the money side. Like people go provision certain things, what's not required. I'll show you the real screenshot, which I noticed only this morning. We are paying about 90 pounds unnecessarily somewhere. So these things, it will add up very quickly here and there. Like so you can have something like a monthly review of your billing, or somebody actively looking at whether you are optimizing and using the things correctly. A few hours a month might save you really, thousands, depending on the size of your project. Yeah.
Keeping track of these costs, do you use telemetry for that, or do you use, or do you do like pure review?
It's a pure review, like. Okay, so the question was, do we use some kind of a telemetry, or do we use some kind of a review? We use a review. That could be a starting point, because it may not be worth investing a lot of time in building a solution, depending on like a quick review is enough. Let me see if I can go and. So this is our enterprise portal, and you can see this is all the bills, and these are the number of services we use behind the scene. Oh, what should I do? Allow duplicate. No, duplicate is not working. All right. Okay, so this is our enterprise portal. You can see ea.azure.com. This is actually the enterprise agreement side of things, and what you are seeing here is the behind the scene of Servicebased 360. So this is what running behind the scene to build a product. So it's a lot of things, and you can see I think this is 1 day or 2 days cost, something like that, what you're seeing on the right hand side. So all these things can quickly add up. This is the one I was referring to, like somebody provisioned a premium storage, redundant premium storage, and the base cost of 90 pounds. Probably that's not required. We don't need that level of premium SSD storage for what we need, and it can quickly eat up. So that's something you need to be aware of. Okay, so back to slides. Since the entire cloud is based on a consumption-based model, you try to delay the requirement of using some services only when it's absolutely required. So this is a kind of a thought process you need to have in mind from day one. So the real example here is like when we started the Servicebased 360, the original design was, okay, user goes to app.servicebased360.com. They sign up with their username and email address and password, and the moment they sign up, behind the scene we will provision one of those databases in the Elastic pool, and it's done. But it took us like 3 months to identify not everybody who sign up on the website is actually using your product, right? But we are keep provisioning stuff at the back end, so that it's accumulating, and soon we are running out of SQL Elastic pool. There's a limit of 400. We were running out of it, and we need to come out with a new pool, and that adds cost. So we had to change the architecture. So until it's absolutely required, like we need to provision a database for a user, we delay that process as long as possible. And once they associate a resource like a namespace or a service principal or something like that, then we go and behind the scene, we provision the database. So this is again, you need to keep in mind, is that how are you going to architect your solution? So the payment processing, as I said, this is more on the commercial side. You just wanted to, make it seamless, and you wanted to make sure the users are able to pay for the service. Traditionally, you would have built everything yourself in-house, but today, there are a lot of services available. Things like Recurly is one thing, and there is a Stripe and ChargeBee and things like that. So they take care of all these things like recurring billing, cancellation, refunds, upgrade, downgrade, all those kind of things. You really don't need to worry about it. So it's all built as a SaaS platform, and you just take advantage of it. So this is how we use it. Stripe is the payment gateway, and the ChargeBee is what takes care of all our subscription-based billing. There are few competitors out there as well. Recurly is one more famous one. So you can use any of those things. So this is how it works. So when the user signs up for an account, and when they choose a plan like a bronze, silver, or something like that, we set up something in the ChargeBee, and from that point we can forget it. Like they can take care of the recurring billing. If there is an option for you to upgrade, downgrade, all those kind of things happens automatically. And they also have a web hook. So if they wanted to notify us, we just need to expose a web API. So if there is a payment failure and they wanted to tell us, so they will tell us back, okay, this particular credit card is expired and we are not able to process it. And we have one of those core web jobs behind the scene that takes that request and process it, and then we have a bunch of notifications and suspending accounts, and all those kind of things happens on our side. And there is also a process called dunning, like how many times you wanted to attempt it, 1 day, 2 day before you get notified, and you annoy customers, they go through the process. So all these kind of things, you don't need to worry about it. You just need to, you can use one of those SaaS service, and you get it out of the box. So email processing, I touched base in the beginning. So it's so tempting from people coming from an enterprise on-premise background. Okay, there are APIs in .NET to sending an email is 5 lines of code, but don't do that. The thing is, when you're looking something at a scale, it will a lot of things they need to take care of. Whether they're taking care of the wrong email addresses and the bounce rates and this and that. You really don't want to get into that space. Use something like SendGrid to send notification emails. Okay, I asked a question in the beginning, like how many of you are using used logic apps? So this is something new which we didn't have when I did the presentation 6 months ago. So recently we brought this concept called notifications, right? Okay, initially we started off with the email, but today with the Servicebased 360, we can notify users in 10 different channels. Like we can notify via Slack, Microsoft Teams, and PagerDuty, and a bunch of other things. So initially we looked at what are the options, and we thought of custom building some stuff, but later we went with the Azure Logic Apps, with the Logic Apps model, because Azure Logic Apps is a simple workflow kind of cloud scale workflow solution. And out of the box, it comes with some 250 connectors. So you can have Slack connector, PagerDuty connector, etc. So we built a mechanism where we can dynamically create those logic apps using ARM templates, and we deploy it into the subscription. And out of the box, you get a notification to all these different channels. So for us today, bringing a brand new notification channel is maybe 1 or 2 days work, and we don't, we just basically tapping into what Azure is providing as part of the logic apps. Okay, and initially in the first key takeaway slides, I mentioned about continuous deployment. And this is, the sooner you set it up, it's better, because these are the things where you delay it and you do it manually. But what happens is, after a few releases, you will end up spending lot of time on the deployment process rather than on the actual adding features and on the product side. So it's better to set it up right at the beginning. So we use Visual Studio Team Services for that. So that comes with build definitions, and there are different scenarios of deployment can happen. Sometimes if you're building a staging environment, it could be a complete deployment. You put core databases, this and that, and a complete. You may want to recreate your entire environment. So for that we use a full build definition. Sometimes it could be like a very small fix. You made some UI fixes and you just wanted to push it to the production. You can use we got a specific scripts for that. And sometimes it may require like some kind of a database migration, which might require a bit more planning and bit more robustness. So for that we have a different kind of build definitions. So you can it's better you identify your scope and put all your build definitions right at the beginning. So that it's continuous, and over a period it will pay off, right? Because you are building a platform where we are releasing features every week, every month, something like that. You do not want to spend hours or days on every deployment cycle. So it's better to do it right at the beginning. So this is how it works, and we can manually kick off some builds, and there is also some continuous integration process as well. These are the things we just need to invest. There is always a balance, whether to build the resources are limited, so you just need to weigh it what's important and what gives you maximum ROI. You need to balance it out. So naming convention is another thing. Don't take it lightly. You have like a proper naming convention from day one. I will show you our portal and how many entities we have. So it will soon become really messy if you don't do it right from the beginning. So you can adopt whatever you want. So here we used the product name, and whether it's a prod or a staging or a dev environment, and what kind of services we are using, and whether it's a front end, back end, all those kind of things. So it makes sense for you, so that just put it right from the beginning. Okay. So I'll go through the given you have some time, I'll go through the product and show you little bits and pieces here and there. So if I didn't ask you the main question, how many of you are using Servicebased here? Have you come across Servicebased 360? Oh no, that's good, really good. Okay, so if you haven't tried it, okay, have you used Servicebased Explorer from the community tool? Okay, so what we have done is, we have taken some of the concepts from Azure Portal, some of the concepts from the Servicebased Explorer, and made it as a production quality high-end service with Servicebased 360. That's what we did. And this is, the special code. If you want, you can, if you're signing up, use this code. So I think that gives you like a 4 or 6 months validity for you to use the tool at a scale. Okay, what I wanted to show you is I want to go through this presentation quickly, and let's go through some of the stuff what we are talking about. Of course, I've shown this one. So this is we use various services, and this is our enterprise portal, and this helps us. This is something I look at it at least once a month and make sure we are not paying for things which are relevant. We have done couple of cleanups which has saved lot of money, once a month or something. We go through and we shut down a lot of things, and we kill some of the services not required, all those kind of things. So this is our portal. We have about 16 different subscriptions for different things like staging, production, all those kind of things. And this is one of the main one, and you can see there are about 446 items in there. So it can get really complicated. There are a lot of databases, a lot of logic apps, and we have some kind of a naming convention with the GUID for customer specific things. We can filter it out, but you can see there's a lot of things in there. So some functions and stuff like that. Okay, so let me quickly show you the tool itself. So this is what the product itself, Servicebased 360. One of the things, the main driver for us is to give a better tooling for people using Servicebased. You might have noticed when Alan was showing his demo using Azure Service Bus and Event Hubs, the only option you have right now, if you're doing anything with Azure, is going to the Azure portal, right? So that's the only option for you. There is no other option for you to manage your solution. And we feel, sometimes it's like it's overwhelming to some extent, and also in some cases the tooling is not deep enough. For example, you may wanted to send a sample message, or you may wanted to send test like millions of messages into your event hubs. So those kind of functionalities are not available in the portal. Even today, Alan might not have tested it with the sample messages and stuff like that. So that's the problem what we are solving with Service Bus. And we are also covering logic apps and monitoring endpoints like your web APIs and stuff like that. So if you drill down into this, you can see these are the different queues available, and what are the messages available there. And you can see, like, you can easily send a sample message. You can put whatever messages you want, and you can send it. Or even if you want, you can schedule it to run some thousands of messages whenever you want it. And you can drill down into the message, and you can see all the messages. You can see the details, the content of the message, and then the properties of the message, etc. And the dead letter processing is one of the biggest thing. Like, if messages gets into dead letter for some reason, and you wanted to manage it and see what's in the dead letter, and you may wanted to resubmit that messages back into the queue. So those are the functionalities what we have built with Service Bus. And also there is a big monitoring element. You can monitor the queues. And I think I'll quickly show that notification thing which I highlighted. So out of the box, we support multiple notification channels. So you can quickly go and register your own notification channel. So when I say I wanted to create a notification channel, if I pick one of these things, what's happening behind the scene is we dynamically create logic apps, and that's why you saw a lot of those logic apps with the GUIDs in the portal. And then that's how it works. So it got like periodic recurrence, how often you wanted to test it, and all those things are taken care of. Okay, and you have all the the topics as well. You can go at the partition level, and you can deal with it. So I think if you're using Service Bus, give it a try. So it's basically like the deep tool for you to the reason we started off this is we thought Service Bus is one of the key technologies in Azure. Pretty much everybody uses that at some point, and the lack of tooling is making it harder. So we just wanted to replace that. I also wanted to run it, another concept what we think is relevant. I mentioned the Azure portal. Let me go back to the portal, right? Even when Alan was showing the demo, you might have noticed this, right? On the left hand side, it's a lot of services there. But Alan was actually using only 3 or 4 services, right? He was using Stream Analytics, Event Hubs, Service Bus, some storage, etc. And that's his application. If he builds that thing and he deploys it, and if an IT ops guy wanted to manage it, the option what you are going to give him is going to log into the portal and do some stuff, which could be overwhelming. Looking at all these things, it's so difficult to educate people, what is your application, how are you going to manage it, and setting up user rights and things are happening in Azure every day. How are you going to control it? You can use the policies and rights, but what happens, for example, I can give you a good example, like Azure Logic Apps introduced a new functionality called resubmit, and they just pushed it. It's available for every single user. If you dive into Logic Apps, you have that functionality for resubmit. Maybe this is not something you really want in your enterprise, right? You don't want that functionality, like somebody resubmitting a message into your Logic Apps. How are you going to control it? So I think we were thinking about this for a while, and we are taking Service Bus 360 to address this problem of composite applications. So the Azure portal is designed in a way, it's a technology siloed. So you You go to logic apps, dive deep into some of the blades, and you're actually in logic apps. But maybe as part of the solution, your logic apps is only one small part, but you have service bus and other things. So you need to come all the way back, get into service bus, and then back, and then go to stream analytics, etc. This is how the Azure portal is designed. We wanted to solve this problem by bringing this concept called a composite application, and this is how it looks. Okay, this is my application. I use some storage, some API management, some logic apps, and a couple of queues and some Azure functions. And we wanted to design something like this, right? So this is the way we wanted to position Service Bus 360, and you say this is my application, and that application uses a couple of queues, couple of topics, couple of logic apps, and then you can provide the user access or monitoring all those capabilities at that application level. So okay, there is a resource groups which can do something similar, but still you cannot get this level of simplicity, and that's the direction we wanted to take. And once you log in, so this is how, if you're using queues, topics, etc., you're inside this particular application, and you can do stuff which are only relevant to that application. So this is something we are trying to do it. So this is just I thought I'll throw it and get a feedback. Do you think it's something will be useful? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think I'm 10 minutes early, but if you have any questions, I'm free to answer.
All right. Any questions, thoughts? So we're 10 minutes early. That's fine. It's cool if we have questions to sum this up. One thing which is important, starting to talk about things that break and fall apart and how things can be complicated, is that some of these services they started to build these services in Azure before many of these features existed.
Correct.
And then you have whole solutions to things that all of a sudden that's a service. It's already built. It's already done. For instance, I was building an application once where we used a service bus and we broke it because we had too much traffic and we hadn't built an elastic enough solution. So there was just one service bus instance and it broke. And so we had a big major crash in one of our things we were building. It's not a good thing. So we had to build in elasticity and use multiple instances of service bus, etc., to handle that. Some months later, oh, lo and behold, right, other people had the same problem. So there we have the Event Hub. All of a sudden, that's been built and resolved and kind of fixed in Azure, right, by Microsoft themselves. So here's a new service which helps you receive lots and lots of messages. Just you have your own pipeline here. And we didn't have that, so we had to build it. And when you are in that case, you have to build and rebuild things, right?
No, I think that's right. That's what I mentioned. Like this presentation, I can give every 6 months once. Every 6 months once, things will change. Like we are looking at now Azure functions to replace some of the worker roles. It's constant tweaking of your billing as well, because Azure functions is 100% consumption only model. The worker roles are got a flat fee of you need to upfront, you need to invest it. So we are looking at Azure. In fact, we've gone down the route, but we faced a couple of limitations and we need to pull back. But at some point, once that platform, that service becomes matured, we will do it. And probably 6 months later, I might give a slightly newly updated talk on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's very important to say in this scenario that this does not mean that Microsoft will, deprecate and remove old services and just throw them away and you have to change. No, you can stay with the old things for a very long time. The very first platform service, the very first compute service was called a hosted application. It's now called a cloud service. And the cloud service is still around in Azure. It's not very much actively updated with new features, and lots of people use the cloud service. It's bloody brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic, and it was so innovative when it came out some years ago. But now, after the cloud service, we have, I don't know, I could count maybe 6, 7 ways in which you can execute your code in Azure. There's VMs now, there's functions, there's a bunch of things, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to move forward. You could choose to optimize and go to a new place, that's fine. But you won't be deprecated or put out of business just because you didn't. You can just relax. All these services in the Azure platform will have fair warning at least 12 months before they start to deprecate anything. And it's been very few occasions of some service or something actually disappearing from the platform. It's important to say. So don't worry.
All right.
All right. Anything else? Yes, question? Perfect. Repeat the question.
Okay. The question was, we are using app services, why we are not using
Service Fabric.
As I said, there is always a constant battle, right? Okay, you build something that's up and running, and there's something new came along. What are you going to do with it? So we constantly review it as well. So is there an opportunity cost of switching from one service to another service? Are you going to get some better management, or it's going to save you cost, and how much time it's going to take? Of course, you don't want to just for the sake of doing it, and you're coming to the same point in terms of your application features. You need to balance it out. We might look into that, but right now, this is the reasoning behind, we constantly look at what's coming and where we can switch if possible.
It's a total cost of ownership game in there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have to put a number of development hours into changing from one technology to the other, what's that going to cost you, and how much time is that going to take, and is it worth it? So you have to take these things into consideration.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really easy to move from one thing to another. Well, then just
As
do it.
I said, Azure Functions is one thing we are seriously looking for all of our background work, because that's a 100% consumption only model, and it's a pure serverless paradigm shift. And that's how, if you're thinking at cloud, that's the direction you need to think. Everything serverless, don't worry about the infrastructure side of things. But as Magnus was saying, there is you need to balance it out, how much time you're going to put into all these things.
Honestly, in several ways, we are jealous of people who are building something new for Azure today, because you have all the stuff now. Going back a couple of years, we didn't have half of that, and really, it's very cool. You had a question.
I was just wondering, we're also using Azure Functions just a little bit, but I want to use it a lot more. What kind of stuff have you found in terms of immaturity of the platform?
Okay, a couple of issues stopped
The
us. Okay,
question was.
Okay, why we didn't go ahead with Azure Functions and we're still holding back? There's a couple of issues we noticed. One is the scheduling mechanism, the time trigger. It was not accurate. It was not firing at accurate intervals. Maybe it's a scalability issue, or it's not ready for the prime time. That was one issue, because we need to send alerts on a timely manner. So if somebody said, I wanted to get alerted if service is down for 5 minutes, we wanted to make sure that we can match it, and we found that's a problem. And we found another big issue. Some of the Azure functions disappeared.
Well, so Functions is a GA product now. It should be working, but hey, always things can happen, and we're not here to sugarcoat anything. We're here to give you experiences.
Yeah, I think also coming from the enterprise background, maybe we thought it's better to leave some time, let the services get a bit more mature, and then do the switch. It's not an immediate need for us. It's good to switch, but we can leave some time.
One question about if you have this SaaS platform, do you have any extensibility options, or do you have something in your roadmap where we can integrate the features from Servicebased 360, for example, to some other enterprise product, or get some other sort of create a webhook or something like that?
Yeah, the notification side, we have webhooks. You can get notified, but that will evolve basically. Like right now, the extensibility is very less. We cannot bring things into Servicebased 360, but you can actually call an external webhook to get notified and those kind of things. But that is more of a product feature kind of a question.
All right, great question. Any additional questions, last thoughts? Are you all hungry? Well, so I guess we're about to wrap up. Well, thank you very much for your session.
Thank you very much.